actually her failures didn't crush her, they empowered her, they made her stronger, they fed her.
Thomas, Haley, thank you so much for the time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. You
Thanks,
look like
Steve.
you're in a really lovely place, breathing in some nice fresh air.
Thank you. It seemed appropriate with the film that we're discussing today, and in truth, it's just my backyard. But but honestly, Widow Clicquot is a beautiful film. It is an absolutely wonderful film. Haley, you're wonderful in it, and Thomas, it's very well done. I was wondering, what is it for you both that why was this a film that excited you that you wanted to tell the story of the Widow Clicquot?
Woman, the myth, the grand dame of Champagne, Widow Clicquot. I loved that the story is kind of an unveiling of this iconic figure, this incredible historical figure. But for me, as a storyteller, it was about one woman's archetypical journey from shy, timid girl to an independent woman and a creative force who discovers the healing and regenerative qualities of Mother Nature as a way to survive the loss of her true love and her partner and to keep him alive. And she's really on, and in the story, in the film, she's really on this story, on this journey of self-discovery, and finding her true purpose. And she learns to, over the course of the film, trust her own instincts and listen to her voice. And that is something that I could really, really relate with as a woman.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thomas, as a filmmaker, what excited you about bringing her story to life?
Um, Fundamentally working with Haley. It was the first opportunity we've had to work together, and I'm a huge fan of her work and of her as a person. So I knew it would be, we'd go into something and it would be an experience, like a real experience. And I think Haley is so enmeshed in the project, has developed it as a producer, that her commitment would be, very full towards what we were doing. And so coming into the project, I think all of the things that Haley's just mentioned about the character of the woman, and to show an emancipated person in that time, in 1799 and 1806, to show how fully she emancipated herself and was able to become an icon. Now we look at her as an icon, but I think at the time she was just trying to do what she felt she had to do. And I think she says that in the final scene of the film. It's like, why shouldn't I be allowed to follow my instincts and my dream and to do what I feel passionate about in my life? Why is that, such a radical idea? So I feel there's sort of, obviously that's a huge thing to put on screen and to try to make that statement in an authentic way. And then creatively, artistically, I felt very fascinated by the idea of these two stories running alongside each other, the sort of past and the present, fusing with each other, and sort of the game of memory in a way. It's a person, outside of the icon and the politics. There's a person remembering their life. And at the beginning, we're remembering what is a happy life, or what seems to be nostalgically this beautiful marriage full of potential, and these young lovers. And and the pressures that they're under seem to be from other men, you know, wanting them to do things differently, wanting them to be more conventional, and they're very bohemian and they're very free, and they sort of represent the new France after the revolution. And so there's this wonderful phase where you see life as it probably could have been romantically or in some way. And then gradually the film twists and turns and becomes darker, and the memories become almost traumatic. And you realize that the marriage wasn't happy, and you realize that the relationship with the husband was much darker, and there were all these other things in play, and the memories change. And I found that dynamic in the script really, really fascinating. I really wanted to tell that story. I really wanted to try to find a grammar for that in the house and in the vineyard, and try to kind of merge the past and the present together.
I also really love that aspect of how things, you know, are kind of glossy and seem very shiny and glossy from the outside, but when you really examine it, Barb was far stronger than her husband, and she was able to finish the job that he started, but that how do I word it? But that she had the guts she had the confidence and the guts. She was able to do what her husband wasn't able to do, because his failures crushed him. And actually her failures didn't crush her, they empowered her, they made her stronger, they fed her. And I really admired that in her.
You know, that the things that I feel like this film so well is balancing these two worlds. It's not a film about the marriage, it's not a film about the champagne. It's showing the relationship between the two things in Barb's life, how that shaped her and how she shaped it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I find so fascinating, though, is the champagne itself in this particular film, because you know, this is such an intricate industry. I feel like I don't know nearly enough about things like wine and champagne, but she talks about the grapes being picked at the time of day, and the way they're picked, and all these intricacies here. But one of the comments that was made, and I believe it may be from the book, but it might have been in the film, is every bottle of champagne tells a story of passion and resilience. I was wondering for you both how whether that resonates with you and how that connects with the film.
So that was one of the things that I really admired about Widow Clicquot, is her resiliency, and it's something that I can really relate with as a creator myself. I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have made this film if I didn't have some qualities of resiliency. Widow Clicquot wasn't sidetracked by her setbacks. They made her stronger, and she always kept moving forward. She was always looking towards the future, and she was a forward thinker. And I think that from the very little that I do know about winemaking, you always have to be looking towards the future and planning and plotting, and there is disaster always looming. There are you know, if it's not human, if it's not a human oppressor, it's the natural world which is oppressing the process of creation and winemaking. There's a lot to contend with. So you have to love it, right? You have to love it if you're going to do it. It is much like working in the film industry, because if we didn't love it, we wouldn't.
It does sound like a good advice for filmmakers: passion and resilience. It's just I'm just riffing with this, but in a way, the two strands of the story are in some ways about passion and resilience, because the one side of the story is about the passionate relationship with the husband that becomes distorted and becomes tragic. And I think, you know, watching Hayley and Tom Sturridge build that relationship and how intricately they work together on screen, I think is sort of one of the successes in the film, and really, I feel like I really go on a journey with that couple as I'm watching the film. And then the present, the kind of story with life after the husband is, she is beset on all sides by disaster. I mean, you know, whether it's Napoleonic War or the frost in the fields or the bottles, you know, there isn't anything that doesn't go wrong. And one of the things that Hayley and I really talked about a lot when we were making the film was this kind of the idea that the kind of work that she was doing, and the driving, absolute relentless energy she must have had to do that work, you know, with wine in cask, with wine in bottles, with grapes in the field, with the harvest in the field, the harvest then being, you know, wine at 3 or 4 different stages constantly. So there are sort of 4 strands of activity going on at any one time. And then there's a war. And then she loses all of her profits to the wine being spoiled as she smuggles it around a blockade.
It sounds so true to reality at the moment.
But you know, these are all real events. You know, this was all taken from the book, and the book is taken from the diaries and her copious letters and notes. And she talks in all of her communication about these things that are going on, but she, as Hayley said, you know, she keeps going, and her resilience is really quite a defining characteristic, I think, in the story and in real life.
I appreciate that. And honestly, it really is a fascinating film. It's beautiful. Hayley, you are wonderful in it, and I appreciate so much the time to chat with you both. Thank you. Thank you so much. Raise a glass to Widow Clicquot.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.